people are being asked to drive safely in construction zones. Good evening to you. I'm Jennifer Andrews. Well, it's Work Zone Awareness Week, and reminders have been issued to keep everyone safe. Devontae Martin joins us now live with more. Devontae?
Jennifer, in construction areas like this one in downtown Monroe, officials want drivers to monitor their speed and be extra cautious of workers.
In 2022, we had 10 people that were killed in work zones.
Work zones are temporary. Actions behind the wheel can last forever. That is the theme for National Work Zone Awareness Week this year. According to the National Work Zone Safety Information Clearinghouse, there were 895 work zone related fatalities nationwide in 2022. Aaron Buchanan with Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development says this week is about informing drivers about work zone safety.
The real message for Work Zone Awareness Week is that there are actual human beings that are out there in these work zones. There are actual humans with families that are anticipating that they come home at the end of the day. And all it takes, and I know it sounds like a cliche a lot of the time, but really all it takes is one split second, one wrong move, one glance down at your phone.
As construction picks up in the region, Buchanan says there are multiple things drivers should be monitoring while driving through work zones.
When you approach the work zone, pay attention to what the posted speed limit is, because it's going to be reduced. Pay attention to how traffic is merging. That's a large issue, especially on interstate projects where a large volume of traffic is trying to come down and merge into maybe one lane.
She also says the public is a big part in spreading work zone awareness.
Most importantly, the role that you're playing here is to drive safely through the construction zone. That's the most important thing that anybody can do, not just this week, of course, but any week.
Now, the DOTD recommends that travelers visit their website, or they can download the mobile app to find out construction areas ahead of time. Jennifer?